Hey everyone, I'm Kristen and I wanted to start you off with a garden tour. It's really windy today. It's the second day of fall and I have a lot of vegetables to harvest. So let's get started. We'll probably get our first frost around October 21st. So we're gonna start out with the newest garden bed. We put this in the spring with these cattle panels. It's a really cheap way to trellis your vegetables. This is the first year that I actually had something in place before I planted my tomatoes. In years past, I've used stakes or those tomato cages. When you grow heirloom tomatoes, they get so tall that none of those things ever work. You have to go 5-6 feet up. Because in my experience, what would happen is I would have beautiful plants and around mid-June, they'd have green tomatoes all over them. And then a big storm would come through and blow them all over and they'd fall down. So this has been a great year for tomatoes for us. Right here we have some Cherokee Purples. This is one of my favorite ones. That's a good tomato. We have some cracking going on because it was really dry. I was getting a little neglectful on the watering. And then we got a ton of rain, and so that's why that's happening. Right along here, I planted a bunch of Roma tomatoes, not realizing that they weren't going to get as tall as the slicers, but that's okay. We're going to put them somewhere else next year. And right here are orange jubilees. Now on the inside of the trellis here, this is something that I'm gonna grow every year. It's called a Chinese noodle bean. And I really just grew it because it looks so cool. But they actually taste really good. And down here we have some sugar snap peas. Some of these I started in pots a few weeks ago, and then I came through after I planted them. I ended up putting in some seeds too. I may pop in a few more seeds in there and see what happens, but these should grow all the way up the trellis. That's something I did in the spring that I'll change. When I grew peas last spring, my trellis was too short and I had it in one of the other beds, but look, that one is already reaching way up there, climbing around. Cute little plant. And these are some melons and cucumbers. Oh my goodness. I didn't think this was gonna do anything. Look how cute. That is a Kajari melon. I'd given up on these. There's some more peas. And then, oh my goodness, here's another one. See, this wasn't out here a couple days ago. That's what's so cool about the garden. There are always some surprises. And part of the reason I want to do these videos is for a video diary. There's something else coming up right there. In the spring, I put these tags in. And I come out and half of my tomato varieties, I'm not really sure. Like this one over here, I don't know what kind of tomato that is. Here we have a pretty little black-eyed Susan vine. These are San Marzanos right here. Great for sauce. We've made a lot of sauce this year. It takes a lot of tomatoes to make a batch of sauce, but it's worth it. So some of these tomatoes are past their prime, and the chickens. Here's one for the chickens. I just didn't get out here much in the rain. We had so many tomatoes inside that I've been working on that these kind of just got left over. Now we're gonna get into the peppers a little bit. This one is a Poblano. We love eating Poblanos green. I read that you can, when they're red like this, they're ancho, and you can dry them out and make ancho chili powder. We have another Poblano right here. There's lots of peppers on there that are ready to come off. And then over here, these are Ring of Fire cayenne peppers. And I've already dried some of these and made some chili or cayenne pepper. I dehydrated them in our dehydrator and then just stuck them in my Ninja and blended them up really fine. Those make a good cayenne pepper, really bright red. We had some leftover starts after filling the main bed with tomatoes that we just threw in these containers. I know we're going to try to put in some more beds, probably up there on the hill. Okay, along here, here's some lavender, which has been here a few years. I actually brought that over from the other house when we moved a couple years ago, and it likes this little spot right here. Big bunch of chives. Here we have some sweet banana peppers, which we love to make our sweet banana pepper mustard. And here are some jalapenos. I have my work cut out for me today. Parsley, looking a little weak. Nasturtium tucked in there. These are the very first carrots I've ever gotten to grow. And I did them in rows. I could probably fit some more in there. Instead of picking out the little ones, I'm going to let them grow up pretty tall, and then what you do is thin out the bigger ones, so when you pull them out, there's actually a little bit of a carrot there that you can eat as a baby carrot. So we'll see what happens in the next few weeks, and I'll be documenting all of that. Here we have more peppers and my okra, which is spent. It fell over the other day. Thing about okra that I've learned, which I've never grown okra before this year, it got really tall, and the flowers on it are very pretty. When they get this big, they are like really woody and tough, and you wouldn't even want to eat them. Here's one I could pick. It's, well, maybe in a little bit. It needs to be a little bit bigger than that. But they get away from you quick. I mean, you'll see an okra out here, and next thing you know, you come out here and it's big like that. And we put our peppers in this bed this year after our spring vegetables. Next year, I will space them out a little bit more. They like to hold hands, but they're a little too close. And another mistake I had here too is I kind of staked them up as I went along, and next year I'm going to just stake them right away because they get pretty heavy. Like this one here, it's that's a nice pepper. That looks like a Poblano right there. And this pepper right here has been one of my favorites this year. We pick it when it's red, It's called an Ajvarski. Here's one. How pretty that is. It has a really kind of a thick wall, thick flesh. But we make this spread that goes on, you can put it on bread. It's called Ajvar, and it's from Eastern Europe. I guess that's where it originated, but we'll probably do a video sometime of making that. It has Ajvarski peppers and eggplant and some other things. Here's my basil that's gone to seed. I wish you could smell this. It's so wonderful. Shishito peppers. This was a first for me this year. And these are so good, fried up in a skillet for about 10 minutes in olive oil. One plant produces a lot. There's my potato experiment. We're gonna put some more dirt in there and probably put that in the greenhouse. Here's another new one. This is called, what is this called? Ground cherries. Aunt Molly's ground cherries. And here's the fruit. You pick them up off the ground. And that's when they're ripe, is when they drop to the ground. I guess that's what they call them, ground cherries. And you, let me see if I can open this with one hand. It's just like a little fruit. I was shocked when I came out and had my first ground cherry. It was like, where has this been all my life? They taste kind of tropical. This is my breakfast. This is called a Nikita Pepper. And they're nice peppers. They just don't have a whole lot of flavor. I don't know. I made some stuffed peppers with them one time, and like we all reached for the red peppers, of course. There's some more Ajvarskis hidden back in there. What I'll do is pick all this and then take a picture or take another video. These are some California wonders. They start out green when they turn. Okay, here's another little part of the garden. I thought that I would be able to grow peppers in my greenhouse, but it just gets way too hot in there. So I moved all the pots out here, and these are great for stuffing. This is called the big guy jalapeno. Look how many. We're gonna be busy this weekend. We've got some blazing hot banana peppers, which I mistakenly gave one to my mom last week. I think she might have gotten mad at me because it was really hot. I'm sorry. Sweet banana peppers. Here's the Costa Rican. That turns red, and it has a very thin wall, but it's good. It's a sweet pepper, not a hot pepper. I think I'm lacking some nitrogen here in these pots. See how they're light green? I haven't fertilized in a while. Maybe I should call this the lazy gardener. Serrano peppers. And this mess back here is about done. Just various tomatoes that we planted. We had extra starts, and I just can't bear to throw them out. I think maybe this year I'll try to sell some of them. Right here is a Brad's Atomic Grape. That's the sun gold. I just found something I need to show you. I bought this rose this summer to tie up to that fence, and today is the day I'm going to tie it to the fence. I'd say it's time. What do you think? That'll be beautiful, and it's to hide all of our junk so the neighbors don't have to look at it. Now up here we have our Pollinator Garden, and this is specially for the butterflies and the bees. on a sunny morning when you come out here, it is just full of life. And I've gotten some really great pictures chasing some of these butterflies around. We have, most of these are zinnias. A few are cosmos. That's a cosmos. Zinnias. One of my favorite is this Tithonia, or Mexican sunflower. It gets really big. That's one plant. And all these, they're about done, but they're still beautiful. Still adds a lot of color. We can see it from our kitchen window. Here's a nice cosmos. And some Cleo May. Spider plant. That will reseed itself. My aunt gave me those seeds. They're from her house. More Black-Eyed Susan vine. And here's where everything's falling over. We had some bachelor buttons along here, but they're done, I guess. Got some weeds. Some borage. That little blue flower, that's an edible plant. Okay, right here we have some of my strawberries. I had a couple of older plants that had these runners coming off. And I guess it was about August. I took all these little runners and I placed them in a pot so that the roots would grow. And then after about a month, I just cut them off from the mother. And so now we have a whole bunch of strawberry plants. I'm not sure what I'm going to plant them in yet. I was thinking about one of those green stalk planters, but I don't know. We'll see. So they're just living over here by the side of the house for now. I did get some fall seeds started. I've never really paid attention to gardening in the fall. I just mainly planted things in the spring, and when the frost came, garden's done, wait till next year. But I've really learned a lot this year, and turns out there are a lot of things that you can plant for a second harvest, or harvest into the fall, or maybe sometimes into the winter, and not necessarily undercover in the greenhouse. Although there are some things that we're going to put in the greenhouse this year, like lettuces, and I'm going to stick those potatoes in there, my potato experiment. I'm going to go get some more garlic to plant, so we'll be planting garlic soon, and I'll take some video of that. Some garlic and some flower bulbs. But right now, we have, I'll start over here since I planted these first. Kale. Several different types of kale. I'm gonna go get the seed packets. I got the seed packets. That's the kale that I planted first, and it is this Dinosaur Kale, or lacinato Dinosaur Kale, and that is supposed to get better after the frost. I guess when the weather gets cooler, it gets better tasting. We like to use that in our green drinks that we have in the mornings. And then over here, we have some red kale. That is red Russian kale right there. And then also dwarf blue curled. I think this is usually what we see in the grocery store. Although I have seen the dinosaur kale there too. Here's the spinach that we have planted. Bloomsdale long-standing. Our spinach this spring did really well. Right here we have beets, bull's blood beets from Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds in Missouri. They have a lot of really interesting seeds, some great varieties. That's where I got my Chinese noodle beans. Here's a second little round of basil, so maybe we'll have that going in the greenhouse, or at least have it for a little while longer. These are Brussels sprouts. I'm excited for those. And some cauliflower for my mom, because she decided this year that she just loves cauliflower. Some various flowers that I can keep you up to date with these as they grow. Bee balm. Like I said, some of these things I don't know how it's gonna do. I don't know why I planted some of it so late, but here's another one we really like. Bok Choy. This is the variety that you cut when it's small, but when it gets larger and goes to seed, you can still take the leaves. I mean, you can still eat all of it. We really like the Bok Choy. You're supposed to cut it when it's really small, like little mini Bok Choys, this variety. But we kind of let it get big, and we were picking the leaves off to make salads with. And then they went to seed, and they had these little yellow flowers all on top. And I just left them in the garden, and I'd come out and just pick the leaves off and add it to the salads. And it turned out, it was pretty good. I was happy with it. But hopefully this fall, I'll get them when they're little. Back here I have some hostas growing that need to be planted out. I may be putting those next to the strawberry bench. Looks like they came back in for some breakfast. The feathers are everywhere because they're molting. So our plans for this area, we're going to throw some more compost down on there, and then we want to build another bed up here. This is really flat and gets a lot of good sun, and you know, the less you have to mow, the better. Oh yeah, this was an experiment, but it was a failure. Well, not a total failure, because I mean, everything you do, it's a learning experience, right? And we didn't really even prepare this ground up here. I just threw a little bit of compost down and tried to do the 3 sisters, which is corn, beans, and squash. And it just didn't, I don't know. We'll get this prepared up here, and I think have a nice space for the garden. We have a lot of owls. That's for hawk deterrent. This is just a flower bed. It had some pretty big flowers in it this summer, but you know, like everything else, it's coming to an end. There were some more volunteer tomatoes coming up. There was a huge tomato plant here that we left up, and finally ripped it out a little while ago. And here's some dahlias that I bought at Wilson's. They're beautiful. And that is Alyssum that I started from seed in the spring. This is where we're going to be spending a lot of time in the winter and next spring, but not next summer because it gets like 100 degrees in here. This is our little greenhouse. I'll put some pictures up of Mike building this. It's a Paul room. It has the automatic vent opener things. These have like wax inside them, and when it gets warm, they expand and open the vents. So here pretty soon I'm gonna come out here and take these bags of potting mix and lay them out and plant our salad greens. So hopefully we'll have salad most of the winter, and we're gonna see how that goes. Last year I didn't really clean out the greenhouse. We didn't do anything with it over the winter, but I think we'll be able to at least have some salad going. I may put my strawberries in here just for the coldest part of the winter. It might help them just because they're small. So anyway, I'm really glad we got this greenhouse because it's so nice in the winter. It's actually nice and warm in there, and I can sit and be outside. What I was thinking is I'd like to keep a weekly video journal of the garden. I think it'll be great for reference. Figure out what plant is there that I planted. It'll make it easier to identify things that the tags have been lost, which you can't really rely on those tags. In the past, I've had things take them, they just disappear, or another good one is when you write the name on the tag and then it washes off in the rain. I hope you had a good time. If you liked this video, give us a thumbs up. And please hit subscribe, and we'll be having some more videos coming out. Like I said, I'll keep you updated on the garden. We'll grow some plants together, and we have chickens that we'll be sharing with you, and some of our favorite recipes. Thanks for watching.